Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How we doing?
Whoop, whoop. I'm just getting so excited because we are next week is the retreat. It's next week.
Next week is the retreat right around the corner. It did make me think, oh man, this whole time I meant to work on my cardio a little bit more, for the past year. And I'm like, 10 days away. What can I do?
Well,
It'll be
we're
great,
just
though.
gonna
It'll be great.
just suck it up, Buttercup.
Well, the good news is that us being in charge of it, we get to go at my pace, and my pace is a very relaxing pace. So everybody gets to just relax. It's not a hiking trip, it is a forest bathing trip. It is a good morning, Pam. Nice to see you here on live. Pam's been counting down the days. She's coming to our retreat.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so I'm really excited. I've been packing bags and boxes, and I want you to know I'm like 4 totes deep, and I probably need to go get 2 more. So yes, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
It is going to be amazing. So what's new in your world?
Well, I guess I could tell you that tonight is I'm heading down to Atlanta and taking my daughter to her first concert. And of course, we
Ooh.
are go big, go home sort of people. Vanessa Seltzer, so excited about the retreat, no doubt. Welcome. Yeah, so it's Stray Kids, and it's at the Truist Stadium. So it's a stadium concert for her first concert, and it's like 41,000 screaming people. Yeah.
Are
So
you ready for that? Are you going
as
in
long
with her,
as
or are you just you being the driver and?
oh no, she's literally glued to me. I was just about to say if I could reattach the umbilical, I would. So yeah, no, it's just her and I, and it's been already been an adventure so far, figuring out where we're gonna stay and how we're gonna get there and all those kinds of things. So I am looking forward to my sleep tonight, though. I'm already
Oh
excited about
wow.
Wednesday. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting stuff. How about you?
So I want to share a funny story. I had a new client yesterday, and almost everybody comes to me because somebody referred them to me. It's very rare that I get like someone off of Google or something like that. So this person was referred to me by an MD. And so he sits down in his chair and he's like, my problem. And I'm like, well, I've been told that you have some pain, but I'd love to hear it from you. And when he's done, he's like, what are you going to do to me? Well, he goes, I'm looking around. It looks like you do magic. And I'm like, oh, that's what most people call it. So yes, I do magic.
Nice.
But it was just so funny because yes, the word that most people use to describe what I do in my healing sessions is magic. But here for this first timer to come in and I haven't even done anything yet, and he's like, it looks like you do magic.
Magical yet. That's so funny. Well, that's, if you really think about it, magic is a matter of perspective. I've been dealing with shoulder pain for a while, and I started seeing a PT/functional medicine doctor up here, and she's doing something called a stem wave treatment. And so it's like this machine that sits here, and it is like the loudest zapping, banging, weird, and it's all of like a 3-minute treatment. Like, it's not that long. And I'm starting to feel better. So I guess if you didn't understand it, you would call it magic too, right? So when it comes to all the woo-woo stuff that we talk about, manifesting and creating the life that you want and things like that, is it really magic, or is it just that you haven't peeked behind the curtain yet? So I'm excited about that part of the retreat. I think one of my big missions is demystifying everything, because it doesn't have to be magic, like the power of prayer. There's science behind that too, and so I don't know. It's interesting. The magic, that word. Look at my new reads. Grow a new brain. I'm excited about
Yes.
that one. I could use a couple of new brains. And I'm working on this one, Awakening Your Inner Shaman. This one I really like because it's a woman's perspective. It's a woman's story through the medicine
Yeah.
wheel. So, yeah.
Well, it's so interesting that you mentioned that. This weekend, I did back-to-back sweat lodges. Saturday, we
Wow.
had a special women's only. It was a private group, but since the sweat lodge lives in my backyard, I was invited to join them. Um, it was super intense. I'm going to say, like, what was interesting to me was having the experience that she the woman leading the ceremony brought in way less rocks. Like, I know it was way
Mm.
less hot than other times, but energetically, because we were in there doing a specific healing ceremony for a woman in there, that thing like wiped me out. It was so, like, possibly for me one of the intensest sweat lodges I've ever done.
Wow.
And then Sunday we had our normal community sweat lodge, and she likes to pour it hot. It's so steamy in there. But one thing that he chose to speak about inside, because I always say going into a sweat lodge ceremony is like going to church. The person leading the ceremony, you know, kind of gives mini sermons throughout the course of the sweat lodge, and we all pray and we sing songs. So it is very much like going to church. But one of the things that he chose to speak about on Sunday was how, like, historically it was women leading
Mm.
all of these things. And one of the things that made that shift was like the invaders coming, and so the men had to, because they were the physically stronger gender, like they had to step up and fight the invaders. And that was like in their communities when the switch came from women leading to men leading. And he was talking about how the men are ready to, you know let the women lead again, and that it's time. And
Mm.
I thought that was really interesting to hear that from, like, I hear it a lot in very, very historic perspectives that women were the shamans, women were the healers, women were the leaders. And um we've had that switch over so many different cultures and into creating this patriarchal society that we've created, that we live in today. And it is very, I'll say, obvious to me that I don't think that it's meant for women to come and take over now, but for there to be a balance. And
Sure.
it shouldn't be one or the other. Like, there's room for both, and to create that balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I see it happening, and I'm happy to be part of the facilitation of that happening out there in the world. So,
I love
yeah.
that. I love that. And I agree with you. And, if you think about it, it's really quite interesting because, all men are born to women. I mean, setting aside gender conversations, right? Like at the end of the day, there's a womb and there's a male is born, right? And, um, you know, like for example, my own perspective, my children, they're 16. My son still very much looks to me as a leader in our home, right? Of course he also looks at his dad too, but his dad is still his mother's son, right? So female guidance is still the leading guidance. It is. So the question is, at what age do men or boys turn into men and all of a sudden women become stupid? Like, what what age is that? Because last I checked, your survival still depends on me, right? So it's really interesting how insidious those type of things are. Because for those that have good relationships, like loving your mom is like a really cool thing to do. I always send my kids these videos of somebody will stand outside of like an athletic locker room, like an NFL locker room, and they ask, when was the last time you talked to your mom? And everybody that walks out is like, I talked to my mom this morning. I call her. We pray every morning. I'm talking to my mama later today. Like it's part of natural, just the way our bodies work. So I think it is interesting how at some point when it becomes leadership, somehow it's not right now, right? It doesn't make sense. In other words, I do feel that bigger balance is the natural order of things for whatever that's worth.
It's shifting. It's shifting. Just wait and see. Well, and since you talked about like being born from the mother, the womb, that leads us into our water conversation for today. They in my indigenous circles, I hear over and over again how water is the first medicine. And, because we are created in water and born from water. And obviously in our Four Elements retreat, we're going to be speaking about water, but our topic for today is how do you use water for cleansing and renewal? And, I'm like, I think most of us either start or end or both our days with, our shower to cleanse. I don't know if I'm sure you have like taken a mindful, intentional shower, because I think most of us step into the shower and just, wash the grime off, wash the grease off, and dry off and go about our day. But like when you step into a shower and take that shower intentionally and mindfully, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah. I only take mindful showers. I can't remember, I don't know, maybe in my marathoning days I took a fast shower, but I've never taken a fast shower. Like especially being a mom, that is my only quiet sacred time. That's my church, is that shower. Because when you have little kids, they're constantly, even while you're trying to use the bathroom, their little fingers come underneath the door to try and talk to you. So in the shower, nobody can hear you and they can't come in. So showers have always been a really good place for me. As a matter of fact, the way my bathroom is set up, I have like 2 overhead lights, and then in the next room, there's like the actual commode light, the light over the commode. And so I turn that light on. So I basically take a shower in the dark, pretty much, like just enough light to see what I'm doing, but pretty much it's that. And then of course I have a window that looks out into our little forest. And so it's always like a mindful place for me. So that for me is definitely a huge, huge point of renewal for sure. That every day, that's no matter what, I get my peaceful shower. So I do love that. I also like all the ceremonial and ritualistic ways of using water. There's a lot to be said for sitting by a natural body of water and just letting it flow over you. I love that. I love that.
And I know you relate because I know you are not a beach person either, but sometimes I get like, I don't even know what the right word is, but I live here in Florida, a couple miles from the beach, and I just like, my skin does not like the sun. I do not like the grit of the sand, but there's this huge, beautiful ocean out there to cleanse in, and it is so. I'm like, I've been in Florida for 30, I think it's 34 years or something crazy like that. And no, 32 years. And probably in all of those years, I've maybe been to the beach like 10 times or something like that.
Wow. 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 Wow.
It's not, no, actually, I lie. Because when I do go to the beach and I haven't done it in a while because the clouds have been pissing me off, but I love to go to the beach to watch the moon rise, which is an incredible experience. Like if you've never sat on the beach and watch when the moon comes up, because it's so big and orange. You're like, how can that be the moon? It looks like it's the sun. And then as it gets higher in the sky, it becomes white. But I'm sure it's just like all the atmosphere and stuff that you're looking through it at that lower level. It's a truly incredible experience. And when you also think about, like, the moon is associated with the water, so being there, experiencing the moon and the beach and the ocean
Yeah.
is very beautiful. So I take back my original statement of going to the beach less than 10 times, but during the daytime for like ocean experience, yeah, it's been so little because I can't do the sun, and there's not much shade at Florida beaches unless you like haul the big ass umbrella with you, and I'm not a hauler person either. I'm a minimalist, so
I think
but
my beach aversion is just the sticky sand, really. But the ocean itself I can appreciate. You know, I have always felt that the ocean was cleansing in a way. Like, I don't know, your skin is always, at least my skin always felt better after being at the beach. And so many different cultures, the answer to illness is to go outside, whether it's to go up the mountain into the high forest, or whether it's to go to the beach and breathe in that good salt air. So I do think physically, medically, there's a lot to be said for being at the beach. But more so listening to your body, right? What is it that your body needs? The other day I was reading about using cold water as a pattern disruptor, right? So like if you're having a crying fit, or you're having anxiety or depression or a panic attack or something that, a cycle that you're in the middle of and you can't seem to get out of. What I saw was, take a bowl of ice cold water and stick your hands in it, or stick your face in it, and it makes sense because I remember growing up, people would always say, oh, go wash your face with cold water. And I always thought, oh, what's that going to do? That's not going to solve my problem, but it is a great pattern disruptor. And I thought that was really a really powerful way of using water that I had never considered before. And so that's in my toolbox now. I would be curious, people with little kids, to even try that, like when your kid is out of control and crying and can't stop, what if you put out a glass of cold water and say, put your hand in here? I'm really quite curious how that would over. Don't throw a bucket of cold water on your kid. That's too much. But using cold water as a pattern disruptor, I mean, that's got to be one of those ancient practices that still works today.
well, and since you're bringing up the cold water, like, it reminds me of the cold plunges that are so popular right now. And but interestingly, there's a video going around of a woman explaining how the super cold plunges that people are doing, like, physiologically aren't as beneficial to women as it is to men. Like, women can do a cold plunge, but it should be at a much higher temperature than for men. And that saunas and infrareds, sweat lodge is much better for female physiology. And I don't remember all the details of it. I would have to go and study, but I'm sure if someone's curious out there, you can search cold plunges in women and find out she was very sciencey about why it's not the best thing for women, and sweating is actually better for us. So that must be
That's really interesting. I wonder if it also has to do with like whatever is going on in your body, right? Like whether if you have full body inflammation, is one better than the other? Or if you're in perfect health, is one better than the other? Or if you're at a certain age, is one better than the other? I think all roads lead to the same place, which is listen to your body, what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah. I do want to share one of my other favorite, and I haven't done it in a while, but rainy season is coming. I love, like, when it's pouring hard rain, just going and standing outside in that rain and letting it just, there is something I can't even describe the feeling of that, but it definitely feels very cleansing and renewing and recharging, and yeah, almost like a rebirth when you come out of it. And I have gotten better. Like the first time I went and did it, I just like instinctually ran out there and stood out there and was like, ah. And then it was time to come back in the house, and I was like, oh crap,
That
dripping
is just true.
wet. I just had to come in my house, like drip water everywhere. Now I get organized. I have a towel by the doors and
That's
can
funny.
semi dry off before I come in. But
Yeah.
if you've never tried it, like I just so recommend going out there. Just like I just go in whatever clothes I'm wearing and just let the rain pour on me, and that
Yeah.
is like I'm just so happy thinking about it. I'm like, can it rain today? It looks pretty sunny out.
That
I'm
is
happy about
definitely a warm weather activity. We've had some pretty intense rains here recently, and it does draw you outside. I mean, being that my house is surrounded all by these really, really tall trees, and of course it's summer, so they all have all their leaves on. So when it rains here, it's visually fascinating because you see these giant, giant, thick trunk trees swaying in the wind. And then when it's a lighter rain, it's literally a song. I mean, it sounds like a rainforest. Like you can hear it going through the leaves and everything, and it just begs for you to be outside. So the other day, my partner was staring at me because I kept popping out of each door, trying to figure out which door I could go out of without getting completely wet because the rain's still a little cold. And I'm like, but I want to be outside, but I don't want to get wet right now. So,
You
but
need
there's
to get
definitely
like the full body rain suit, like it's a jacket and pants, and then you can just go stand out there and um
I own all of that. I just it wasn't the right time to do all of that. But yes, I do have like some covered areas so I can stand outside, but then it's like the mist, you know what I mean? So then
mhm.
you end up all wet anyway. And we were going to dinner or something, whatever. It wasn't the time. But that it definitely pulls you outside. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, when I was a kid, I remember we used to have a front porch. So you could sit outside on the porch while it rained and just be in the rain without, getting totally soaked. That I think is a beautiful experience for sure. Love that.
Any other water cleansing renewal rituals that you
I always
partake
go
in?
back to drinking when you're drinking a glass of water. That's another one. I mean, we talk about water holding memory. I know we talk about this a lot. We talk about speaking your affirmations or your dreams, dreaming your reality, put it into this water. Water does hold the memory. And then as you drink it, know that it's cleansing you. I always bring up what is the opposite of that. Imagine that water holds memory and you are having your cup of coffee at work on a Monday talking crap about someone else or hating your boss or whatever it might be, and then you swallow that. You're literally swallowing poison and you're coating your entire insides with it. So for me, even drinking water is really the simplest ritual that I could do, I guess, after taking a shower is, as you drink your water, do it so mindfully that you're literally bathing the inside of your body with health and goodness and vitality, whatever it is that you're looking for. So that one's one of my favorites.
I'm probably going to get some haters out there what I'm going to talk about right now, but I just you led me into it, so I have to do it. Um like water drinking has become such an obsession, an addiction in our society. And yes, we need water and we need to drink water. And there's a lot of people out there that are dehydrated, that are not drinking enough water. But even like if you're just drinking water, a lot of times it's not even hydrating you because the quality of our water is so crappy. But this whole, like people fill up these giant bottles of water and carry them around with them all day. And like they got to drink 3 of them every day to think that they're fully hydrated. And I'm like, I don't know, but we all, like all the generations before us, like nobody was guzzling that much water and they all seemed to get through life just fine. I'm like, for me personally, I think all of us just need to get more tuned in with our body and like we'll know how much water we need. Like even with all of the sweating that I did over the last 2 days, um, I didn't feel the need to guzzle a cabillion gallons of water. I did. I drank water prepping. I had my magnesium, and um, like I feel good. But other people are like, make sure you drink plenty of water. Make sure you drink plenty of water. And I was like, no, I tuned into myself and said, how much water do I need? And then give gratitude to the water. There's people living all over this planet that don't even have access to clean drinking water. I mean, there's people that go days without drinking just pure water. And um, yes, drink your water, drink it mindfully, respect and honor the water because it is a resource out there that needs respect and honoring and protection. You know, we as humans have done a lot of damage to the water out there, and it's time for us to shift that relationship that we have with water. And something else we'll be talking about at the retreat.
Well, and I think, in defense of such said people, I am not one of them. I tried to be, but I don't have the discipline. But I think that the way our society has evolved, we have been disconnected from our bodies and from nature and from literally listening and paying attention to your body. I remember one time I went to the doctor and the nurse was trying to take my blood pressure, but the machine wasn't working. And she probably spent 15 minutes trying to figure out this machine. And I said to her, don't you just have a good old fashioned little, like old school, like just put your fingers on me and just, the old school. And she's like, no, they took that away from us. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like the doctor's office. And she's like, no, according to the, medical practices rules, we are not allowed to take a manual blood pressure. It must be using the machine. And I thought, this is a travesty of medicine if I have ever seen one in my life. I said, if my blood pressure would have been high in that moment, I would have died because you are waiting on a machine. You are perfectly physically capable of taking the blood pressure yourself. But we have removed the human element from everything. I mean, the human element, like somewhere along the line, we got the idea that who you are is not enough and listening to yourself is not enough. And, sensing danger with your belly is not enough, right? You need this and that and whatever, and all of these things. And, it's too much. It's too much. Like, yes, I love technology. Thank God that if I break a bone, somebody can, drill a titanium something into it and fix it. Like, amazing. And also I get to have my voice be just as important, right? And tune into my body, like you're saying. So I'm not saying agree with you. Don't not drink water, definitely. But like give your intuition, right? Just as much power over you as you give away to everything else, to the doctors and the lawyers and the TV and the trends and the things, right? Like, yes, one of the most powerful things to me, like in studying like Buddhism and shamanism and all of these other practices, is think for yourself. The Dalai Lama said, don't follow Buddhism because I'm Buddhist, follow it because it's interesting to you. Don't trust what I'm telling you. Do your own research. There's so much that we are taught to blindly believe in. And each of these things are just disconnecting us from our bodies, disconnecting us from our intuitions. You see all these funny little memes about like men saying, my girl, she sensed me breathing differently. And she looked over and said, what's wrong? you know? And he goes, all I do is breathe differently. But it's true. Like, you know that, right? Just like I know my children, just like I know, like, if they look a certain way or flinch a certain way or, you know, breathe a certain way, you know, and it is your intuition. And every time we talk ourselves out of it, every time you know, feel that there's danger around you and you ignore it because then you're like, oh, let me not, you know, this, that, or whatever, you're wrong. Your intuition was right. Like the more you follow your intuition, the sharper it will become, the more you will understand what your body really needs. So I give a lot of importance to what am I feeling in this moment, you know, and then actually doing something about it. I always talk about my friend Chloe, who I've known now for 25 years. And she was one of the first people to blow my mind because she would tell me, you know, I have a headache. I can't talk for like 2 days. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, when my body feels tired and I have a headache, I just disconnect. And I was like, so like when you have a headache, let me understand. You have a headache, you just stop. She's like, yeah, I just stopped. And it sounds so simple, but it completely blew my mind. I'm like, I can't even imagine stopping for my body. Like that sounds insane because that's not what we teach. What we teach is pop 2 Tylenol and keep on going to work. Right. So anyway, now that I'm on my soapbox, you know, listen to your body.
Yeah, well, and what you said there also about headache, like people ask me all the time because I think it's at least 25 years now that I have not taken any pharmaceutical at all. Not an Advil, not an aspirin, not a prescription, nothing. And Big Pharma, I hope you're listening. I'm not giving you my money. And so people go, but like, what do you do when you have a headache? Well, like, first of all, I almost never have headaches. If I do, a lot of times it is a sign that I'm coming down with something and it's my body telling me that I need to rest. And so then I'll rest. But like just for a regular everyday kind of headache, a lot of times that is just your body telling you you need more water. And so what I do when I have a headache is I drink a glass of water. And most of the time that resolves the issue, which also makes me think, like, how do you take your Advil or Tylenol? You take it with a glass of water. I'm like, so often I wondered, like, was it the Tylenol that got rid of your headache, or was it the glass of water that you drank to drink that Tylenol down? So I invite those of you out there with mild headaches, just try a glass of water first and see what happens. But I
I
also want to talk
remember.
about, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You please.
So, because of course, our friend Pam commented about our magical picture of water from the retreats holding the energy. And so, yes, we do have, you know, because we talk about it all the time, how the water holds the energy. And so, for each of our retreats, we have this water that we bring with us that is with us throughout the retreat, and it's collecting the energy of the retreat. And then we give some of this water to all of the participants to take that energy home with them. And and I know I've shared it on here before, but it's such a cool story. I want to share it again. The last we had a 1-day retreat down here in Del Rey actually. And when we had the water there in this pitcher, and when the retreat was coming to the end, I poured the water for all of the women that were there into these little bottles that we have. And I remember even thinking like, oh my God, like this is a lot of water. I got to make sure that I have some left, so that we have that continued ongoing energy that we have. And it was like the weirdest feeling. Like as I was pouring, I was like worried that there wasn't enough water. And so we gave everybody their water. There was still water in the pitcher. So I'm like, it's okay. I set the water back on the altar until, when everybody was done and we're cleaning up. And then I went to pour the water back into, the jar that with the lid where we keep it. And I'm like pouring the water back into the jar, and the jar is completely filled. And it's like the water somehow expanded itself so that like there was no water gone from, but they all went home with, I think they're like 2-ounce bottles of water, but there was no water missing from the the jar
in
that
the
I had
jar.
it in. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Now that's magical. You see?
That is magic.
That is
Freaked me
magical.
out. And yeah, and it's like I've experienced so many magical things like that that have no explanation for how did that happen. There is no explanation for how that happened, but it did. I witnessed it, and so yes, there is magic out there in the world.
Well, and step one is connecting with it, connecting with yourself, really, doing so mindfully. So back on to being mindful, that's the way. I'm gonna one more plug. I know Pam got it. Pam started reading it. Pieces every step. Start there. Baby steps. So
Yep.
well, we have had a chock full episode today. I hope you
We
guys have
have.
gotten some value out of that. Some good
Beautiful.
practices.
Yeah. And one last plug, there's still a bed for you. If you want to join us on the retreat, we would love to have you. But you got to sign up by Thursday. If you haven't signed up by Thursday, there is no more chance. So reach out if you're interested. We would love to have you with us. And have a wonderful day, everybody.
You're so funny.